services built for your schedule, like 90-day refills and pharmacy chat. Walgreens makes keeping up with your medications simple. So tell your neighbors, the delivery driver, even that miniature bulldog next to you on the 405. So cute. Walgreens is accepting all Medi-Cal members. Transfer your prescriptions today.
Talk to a pharmacist to see if your prescriptions qualify for 90-day refills.
Resolve to save money this year with the new Subaru from Maida Subaru Sacramento. Maida Subaru has a great selection of new 2022 Subarus in stock, with more arriving, all with big Maida Subaru savings. Plus, Maida Subaru has 1.9% financing on new Forester, Outback, Ascent, and more. And your first year's maintenance is always included. Or pre-order your new Subaru exactly the way you want. Whether it's on the lot, on the way, or built by you, Maida Subaru has a better way to buy. Stop by Maida Subaru or visit MaidaSubaru.com to reserve yours today. Resolve to save time, stress, and money with a great deal on a new Subaru at Maida Subaru Sacramento, where you'll never pay additional dealer markup. Find a great selection of new Subarus in stock and on the way at Maida Subaru and MaidaSubaru.com. Make sure and reserve yours today.
Financing and approved credit.
Made a great deal at Maida.
Watching your diet, hitting the gym, avoiding stress. But a good night's rest helps boost your overall health and wellness. And it couldn't be easier. The Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed effortlessly adjusts and responds to both of you. The result? You wake up ready for anything. Proven quality sleep is life-changing sleep. And now, during our January sale, save $1,000 on the Sleep Number 360 Special Edition Smart Bed, plus special financing, only for a limited time. Special financing subject to credit approval. Minimum monthly payments required. See store for details.
I like getting new things, too.
Like new what?
Like new shoes. Nothing's better than new shoes.
How about new underwear? New underwear is pretty good.
What about new flooring?
Oh, yeah, new flooring's good. If it's on sale.
It is.
Where?
S&G Carpet.
Right now?
This month, during S&G Carpet's New Year New Flooring Sale. We can go into any S&G showroom, see and walk on all their new carpet, waterproof core, hardwood, and laminate, and save up to 30% off select styles.
New flooring for the new year. Out with the old, in with the new.
A whole new look for 2022.
So we go into S&G Carpet.
Or we have their mobile showroom come to us.
And save up to 30%.
And I can walk around on our new flooring and my new shoes.
And I can walk around in my underwear.
Yeah, well, some things never change.
Enjoy new flooring in the new year and save up to 30% off select flooring at S&G Carpet. Plus, get S&G's no surprise guarantee and promise to beat any written estimate by 10%.
S&G, more than carpet.
Go to sgcarpet.com for the showroom nearest you or to have their mobile showroom come to you.
Door season at Thunder Valley. In June, you can see ZZ Top, Jeff Dunham, Tesla, 38 Special, and Kenny Loggins. Tickets go on sale Saturday, January 22nd at 10 a.m. For the summer concert schedule and to purchase tickets, visit ThunderValleyResort.com. And coming in 2023, the entertainment continues at our new state-of-the-art event center, The Venue, Thunder Valley Casino Resort. Live out loud.
Afterthought, all you're left with are cold, soggy fries. That's why Wendy's new fries are ones you won't forget, guaranteed to be hot and crispy, or we'll replace them. We're talking natural cut, skin-on fries, perfectly seasoned with a hint of sea salt. In fact, they're even preferred almost 2-to-1 over McDonald's. These are fries so hot and crispy, they beg a new question.
What would you like with your fries?
Try them today, only at Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's, taste preference based on a national taste test by an independent research company.
Don't let the best deals of the year pass you by. Start 2022 off right at Capital City Honda with new inventory arriving daily. Plus, we'll buy yours even if you don't buy ours. Cap City Freeway and Fulton Avenue, your KBV buying center, proudly serving the Sacramento community and beyond. Reserve your new Honda today and lock in top dollar for your trade from home. Get an instant appraisal and build your own deal with Acceleride at CapitalCityHonda.com.
Things can find a new life.
Hello.
Easily list and sell.
I know why you say goodbye and I say hello.
Or discover great finds.
Hello.
Buy or sell almost anything.
You say goodbye and I say hello.
Download Mercari on the app stores or at Mercari.com. Mercari, your marketplace. When kids have trouble sleeping.
Mom, I can't sleep. Dad, just one more story?
For nights like this, try Vicks Pure Z's Kids. Our great-tasting gummies are specially formulated for kids with a unique blend of botanicals and a low dose of melatonin to support their natural sleep cycle. Best of all, they're drug-free and non-habit forming. Help your child fall asleep naturally with Pure Z's Kids Gummies. Consult with a doctor before use. For ages 4 and up.
A local Geico agent. They can bundle your policies, which could save you hundreds.
Doug and Associates, this is Mickey Market. Hello.
For expert help with all your insurance needs, visit geico.com/local today.
Starring Fitz Bloom, the big dog, and Lasher and Landon, the canine companions puppies.
Over the years, Lasher's Elk Grove Subaru has been proud to have sponsored pups that have gone on to lives of service. There's been Promise, Subi, and Dobson, and now Landon. And just like Elk Grove Subarus, they come in all colors, shapes, and sizes. And with financing as low as 1.9% for up to 48 months on new 2022 Subaru Ascents, Outbacks, Foresters, Legacies, Crosstreks, and Imprezas, January is an especially good month to get a new Elk Grove Subaru. Plus, we're also offering as low as 2.49% financing on certified pre-owned Subarus. That's 1.9% on new 2022 Subarus and 2.49% on certified pre-owned Subarus. Only at Lasher's Elk Grove Subaru. Get one online at elkgrovessubaru.com. Over 60 years.
Let's get ready to rumble! Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Charlton of Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to people who love sports. And love awards. Today is a beautiful January the 20th, 2022. Grand de Deportes, bonjour. And many, many beaches. I say welcome to the show. You can follow Big C Sports all over the universe. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers. Home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, just tell them Charlton Big C Sports Center, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars. You can follow Big C Sports on 22 applications all around the universe. You can follow Big C Sports. That's right, 22 applications. 22. Google, Alexa, Spotify, Speaker, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio Podcast, Castbox Podcast, Deezer Podcast, Podcast Addict, and also Podchaser. And now I got to catch my breath because it's hard to count to 10. Give me some praise for counting to 10. You think it's easy? You try counting to 10 without missing a number. You can also follow Big C Sports on Geo Savon Podcast out of London, England, Podtail Podcast, YouTube Podcast, Hubhopper Podcast, Stitcher Podcast, Radio Line Podcast, Repod Podcast, Luminary Podcast, Listen Notes, Podcast Wise, and then 2 more added this month alone for 2022, Pod Bay Podcast, and number 22, Verbal Podcast. Give that some praise. Come on, I said give that some praise. You count louder than that, or you can clap louder than that. Counter clap, the same thing. If you're happy, you can do it. Clap your hands. I really do appreciate that. All around the universe. You can also follow Big C Sports Podcast streaming on 4 TV applications: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. Give that some praise. 22 podcasts and streaming on 4 TV applications. Really do appreciate that. I love paying homage to my family legacy on my mother's side. My great-grandmother called her Mamo, just the matriarch of the family as I was born, and did everything to keep the family strong. My great-grandfather, Pop, loved saying, and former Negro League baseball player, also known with his church buddies, making the best shot in the universe. Known for saying, boys, get out of that barn before a light distraction. Really do appreciate that after coming from church all the time. Just a lot of good memories. My beautiful grandmother, Madia, a seer, wonderful business person, did a lot of things just to keep the family strong. Can tell you everything about a person just by looking at them. Really do appreciate that. Also, my grandfather, Hezekiah, just another wonderful gentleman. And then my beautiful mother helped start a Head Start program and a feeding program to feed families, and also helped win the Little League Championship of the universe. Give Mama some praise. Always stand, rise, and shine. Very smart businesswoman. A Head Start program, a feeding program, and helped to win the Little League Championship of the universe. Give that some praise. Always stand, rise, and shine. And then on my father's side, the patriarch of the family, my grandfather, Albert Curry, a wonderful, intelligent pastor, had 2 churches in Oakland, California, built the 3rd one in Central California, and also ran 2 service stations. He owned 2 service stations in Oakland, California, and that's where you could get gas for about 50 cents a gallon. Now it's about $5 a gallon in the Bay Area. My beautiful grandmother, Alberta Curry, helping my grandfather with the churches and also with the service station, always doing whatever it took to keep the family strong. Really do appreciate that. My father, former Air Force fighter pilot and chief mechanic, making sure planes could fly high so we could all stay safe at night. My beautiful brother Todd with his bombastic voice sound like thunder and lightning when Todd would speak. Really do appreciate that. My beautiful daughter Daisy graduated with 2 degrees in 3.5 years. Major university would help me set up when coaches would come to the West Coast to help with Big C Sports, with merchandising, and also making sure they got everything in line that we needed for radio programs. And then my beautiful son Malcolm, very intelligent college student, knows NBA inside and out, sends me stats on NBA basketball, making sure that I know what's going on in the NBA basketball universe. And then Big C with his wealth of knowledge in the past. Give everybody some praise. I said, give them all praise, praise, praise. It's hot in California. Talking to a friend of mine in Chicago today, and he says, man, Charles, it's like 40 degrees. I said, is it nighttime? He said, no, that's a high. It's 40 degrees is a high. I said, man, in California, it's like 70 degrees. And I think it's still wintertime. I hope we're okay for in the summertime, if that makes sense to you. But I love just saying, give everybody some praise. Come on, give everybody some praise, praise, praise. Really do appreciate that with Big C Sports Podcast. And then I love saying, I learned this from my grandfather. A lot of people contributed to a boxing promoter. But let's get ready to rumble! I used to hear that when I was a little boy. When all the church guys came by with my grandfather out the bar, he always said that. Welcome to the show, SP Dominated Big C Sports Podcast. No scripts, no 3-way teleprompters, no producer in my ear. I do the show with my higher self. I always walk by faith, not by sight. And then I always honor God. I produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all the shows. The sound effects, I do those based on what's provided by the agency. We can all use more laughter in our lives, especially this time of day. The commercials done by the agency in New York outside of what's done here in California. I provide the stats. I provide the storytelling. And as I was telling Jim with Sports Pro Hero out of Chicago, I was saying this weekend, I have San Francisco. He has Green Bay. I'm going to hear touchdown, San Francisco! Debo Samuel, 50 yards. I got to go cheer that loud in Green Bay when the Niners scored. When the Niners come to town, it's Debo Samuel. All fair and love and war. Run the ball 40 times, you win the game. I upload the show. It goes out to 22 podcast applications all over the universe. I never missed a show since starting Big C Sports with Salem Media back on September 12, 2015. And they were, I think, 144 markets back then. Now we go all over the world with Big C Sports Podcast. I love quoting the Bible. I grew up around the church. And one of my favorite scriptures is in Genesis chapter 13, verse 15. It says, for all the land that thou seest will I give you, and thy seed forever. In the book of James chapter 4, verse 2, it said, you have not because you ask not. If you want something, just ask. All you got to do is ask. The answer is either yes or no. It's always no if you don't ask. So make sure we just ask. I love asking. I also want to ask, that everyone that has a chance to just honor veterans, not by saying thank you for your service. I mean, that's great too. But oftentimes we all need somebody to lean on. The Veterans Crisis Hotline is really there to help people. They are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. That means you. That means me. If you know anyone going through issues, especially with all the COVID madness, 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veterancrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. They will stand on their head to make sure you get some help, give them some praise. They all deserve some praise. First responders are amazing. Very happy to be a part of that, giving out that PSA. Also, I want to say thank you to Xfinity Comcast TV and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3. God said, let there be light. Open your cell phones or electronic devices and say play Big C Sports Podcast. You will see the app pop up all over the world. Really do appreciate that. In fact, if you just go to Google and you type in Big C Sports Podcast, you will see it pop up with the iHeartRadio app. Really do appreciate that. That's amazing. iHeartRadio, the #1 podcast app in the whole universe. Really do appreciate that. I love just bringing attention to ValleyHomesWeekly.com. They have a real estate show that showcases properties in the Central Valley. No matter where you are in your neck of the woods, if you want to know what's going on in real estate, go to the nationalrealestatepost.com. That's the nationalrealestatepost.com. You can find out what's going on with real estate in your neck of the woods. Also, if you want to know what's going on with mortgages, go to mortgagedailynews.com. That's mortgagedailynews.com. You can find out what's going on with mortgage rates all over the country. Also, working with lenders as an affiliate for over 250 lenders, waiting to fund you with between $10,000 and $400,000 in funding. Funds can be used for any purpose: business, startups, real estate investments, repairs and renovations, working capital, down payment assistance, investing in the stock market, debt consolidation. Get the help with student loans. Hopefully the Biden administration will write down student loans, if that makes sense to you. Hopefully retroactive to 2000, and that would make sense for a lot of people, getting people out of debt. If you want more information, just pick up the phone, call 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. If the banks say no, give the Big C team a chance to get your funding all fair and level war. Really do appreciate that. Also, I know this is funny. Talking to my friend Jim out of Chicago today, and he's a big-time sports guy, and was talking about the betting that goes on in Illinois and how the sports books are amazing and taking in money and not spitting as much out, but they take it in. But sports betting, don't gamble more than you can afford to lose. Just know that Las Vegas wasn't built on giving out money, and just be aware of that. Also, I want to say this segment sponsored by Budweiser Zero. It has 0% alcohol, 100% honest game. Sports fans, when you're watching the big game, you want to eat with that Big C burger. It's a tasty burger, and it comes with all of the giant meat. Also, coming soon, the Big C coffee. The best part of waking up is Big C in your cup, and it comes in one size extra large. You only get one size extra large. If it's too much for you, force them out and save it for next time. All fair in Level War. Really appreciate that with the Big C team. It's the Big C coffee, all fair in Level War. The Big C burger with all the exotic meats. I want to just talk some more about what's going on with the NBA schedule tonight. A very, very slight schedule. Even Russell Westbrook had set the bench last night in the fourth quarter because they just felt like they needed some more people to get inside and get their groove on. The Kings also blew a late lead up in Sacramento. All fair in Level War. I got some talk about what's going on in sports. You know, I love NFL football. Going to talk about some of the top defenses that are still alive in the NFL playoffs. And would you believe that Major League Baseball is even considering going to a robot as an umpire? They're already doing that in AAA. They're thinking about doing that in Major League Baseball. Now, for NFL news, too, we'll talk about it after I come back from the Big C pause. The NFL, they're moving to dismiss the John Gruden lawsuit. They said they don't want it to uncover too much more stuff. We're going to take what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. In the former words of California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back. All right, we're back with the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 22 podcast applications all over the universe. Really do appreciate that. You know, in streaming on 4 TV applications, the NFL, it moves to dismiss John Gruden's lawsuit, calling it baseless claims. The claims are so baseless that when he came out, he got fired. So how is it baseless if he got fired? He's just telling you what some of the other good boys were doing too. NFL said, we don't want everyone to know. So now John Gruden, now he dropped down because he got caught with his pants down. If that or his hand in the cookie jar might be a better metaphor, especially he's talking about being in Las Vegas, getting caught with his hand in the cookie jar is better than getting caught with his pants down. I think that's a funny joke. Anyway, but they moved to dismiss John Gruden's lawsuits, and it calls X-Raiders coaches' claims, says that they're baseless. So if the NFL says that John Gruden's claims were baseless, then why was John Gruden fired for what the NFL says were baseless claims? He's telling you what he was doing. He wasn't the only one. Roughly 650,000 emails were reviewed as part of the league's investigation into misconduct by the Washington football team. Of those emails, only ones sent by John Gruden were leaked. that means that if the only one that were leaked were sent by him, maybe someone didn't like him. Now, of 650,000 emails, You tell me he's the only bad one? The NFL says yes. Everything else is baseless. That's something else to me. I'm not pro or against John Gruden based on what was leaked. Obviously, pretty sad character. And those emails revealed that John Gruden used racist and anti-gay language in messages to former Washington team president Bruce Allen. And the NFL said, oh, those claims are baseless. Really? Have you seen what's happened with the Washington football club, Washington football team? So he sued the NFL and Roger Goodell for allegedly leaking emails that led to his resignation. Now, if it was so egregious that the NFL is staunchly against racism and homophobic behavior, why did he have to resign instead of being fired? If what he did, and he sent of the 650,000 emails, he's not the only one, but it was so egregious that he had to resign as opposed to being fired. Because Mark Davis said he didn't want to fire John Gruden because obviously he was privy to what the emails were all about. There's a culture. And they do a thorough background check on coaches. They do a colon exam. They check your background. They check your backside. They check your relationships. They know everything about you, your family, your kids, your emails, your work history, employment history, your arrest records. So how did he hide 650,000 emails? And the ones that they found, the only ones that were leaked were John Gruden's. But the league comes back and says, well, those are baseless claims. We only had 650,000 emails. And obviously NFL's big business. They're going to protect the shield no matter what. But former Las Vegas Raiders coach that filed a lawsuit against the NFL and Roger Commissioner. And obviously the league has said they're releasing it, dismissing it based on baseless claims. I guess that depends on the lawyers what baseless claims are. The lawsuits claim that Roger Goodell and the NFL leaked racist and anti-gay emails sent by John Gruden, and he felt comfortable enough to send it in writing. Not having a conversation at a coffee shop, but he felt so comfortable that he sent it electronically. And whoever he sent it to, they didn't go to the media with it because they said, oh, well, that was in the past. It was in the past, but he still got the $100 million. So the lawsuit also alleges the NFL leaked additional emails to the New York Times to ensure that Gruden would resign or be fired. And again, Mark Davis did not fire him. He gave him a chance to resign to save face, if that makes sense to you. But those emails, Gruden's lawyers had talked about confirming the lawsuit of the NFL's network and said that Gruden would seek damages on 7 claims. So what damages is John Gruden seeking for being racist and homophobic? What jury's going to say, well, he has a right to be racist and homophobic and work for an entity that's supposed to be egalitarian, anti-racist, anti-homophobic for people and genders? So Gruden filed a lawsuit against the National Football League, and they're saying it's baseless. But what's up with John Gruden? It's kind of arrogant of him to say, yeah, he sent the emails, but what's wrong with being racist and homophobic? Because he's not apologizing for it. He's saying he was wrongly dismissed. And those emails reveal John Gruden used racist and anti-gay language in messages to former Washington football team president Bruce Allen, reportedly called Goodell a blibbity-blip, blibbity-blimp, and a clueless blibbity-blip, blobbity-blop. You can Google that, what that means, if you can. He also commented on then St. Louis Rams coach Jeff Fisher drafting some other derogatory names, a reference to former defensive end Michael Sam prior to the 2014 NFL draft. So what was Gruden? And think about it. He also used racist language to describe NFLPA head Damari Smith, who is African-American. It was African-American, 75% of the league is African-American, that helped John Gruden get a $100 million contract, and he still had some derogatory things to say about black Americans. So why is he seeking a lawsuit? He said that's okay. He has a right to think what he wants to think. Of course, you have a right to think what you want to think, but the league also has a right to say that's not acceptable behavior, and they're going to get rid of your butt, and that's what they decided to do. And even with that, John Gruden said that he wants to sue. How dare you? He wants to sue. And the NFL said, no, what you said is not acceptable. And John Gruden's argument is, I'm not the only one who thinks that way. Which is probably true. If not, why would he send it to a president of an NFL club? And for many, many moons, nobody said anything about it. So that's John Gruden and what he did. Obviously, the league has a lot of issues. They have, ironically, the irony in all of this? John Gruden felt it was okay to be racist as a coach in the NFL. And the NFL is coming out saying, we are anti-racist in this league. We are for liberty and justice for all. And there's one black head coach as of the Martin Luther King holiday, and that was Mike Tomlin. The only coach in the NFL who's never had a losing record. And on every end zone it says, in racism now, we're all in this together. So when you look at what John Gruden did, he actually felt comfortable being racist and misogynistic because it never cost him. In fact, it helped him earn $100 million. So when you look at what John Gruden said about African Americans, about Damari Smith, and the league must feel that somehow they tacitly consent to it, there's only one African American head coach out of 32 teams. Isn't that something? And the league said, well, we can't let that out, so we're going to dismiss this lawsuit as baseless. And I'm just telling you, there's a lot of, where there's smoke, there's fire, and the league there's no way they're going to let all the good old boys that think like John Gruden be exposed to the public, because the NFL is a $15 billion industry and is built on the backs of black men. 75% of the labor is black men. Try driving a car down the road. You got 4 tires. And 3 of those tires help drive that car. Take 3 tires off the car and see will it drive. You can play, but you can't coach. They may hire a couple more. There's some proposals coming up, maybe, that they require to give people of color a chance to have coaching positions. And not just to keep people quiet, but actually to say the coaches have to represent the players on the league. So if the league is made up of 75% black men, maybe there's a mandate that the league has 75% black coaches. Why? What, is that anathema? Why not be the case? If the league is made up of, let's just say, 25% white men, why not mandate that only 25% of white men can be coaches in the NFL? For the most part, the men that are coaching have been a part of the coaching carousel as assistants, offensive coordinators for many, many moons. They get hired on through cronyism and nepotism, and some coaches even hire their own children to be assistants. Bill Belichick, his son, is on the staff of the New England Patriots. If you look at every team, Shanahan, head coach for the 49ers. His father was a head coach for the Denver Broncos. People get in through nepotism, and then they're friends, of course, through cronyism. So if you're hanging out with your frat brothers and you can't get a job in the NFL because the talent level, black men have dominated that sport over the last 40 years, they'll push quarterbacks predominantly white at the top of the media and make them the highest paid for the most part. But black men have dominated the NFL really since the inception of the league, when they merged the leagues together, the AFL and the NFL. But that would make sense. Equal opportunity. If the league were to make the coaches a representation of the players, you would have 75% black coaches in the NFL. Why not have 75% of the players become white? All they got to do is go draft them if they make the team. But as some of my white brethren, they know, they have that good old boy network that's alive and well in the NFL, and John Gruden knows it too. That's why they're dismissing his lawsuit, because it would reveal that too much of the league is just like John Gruden. How could it not be? He was the highest paid coach in the NFL. How could it have been unwanted? And if his behavior was so egregious, how did he become the highest paid coach in the NFL in the history of it? That's why they won't let the information come out. That's why they say it's baseless. It makes you really wonder. You can love something and not like the way it's treated. Oftentimes, there are things that are said about people and they're not there to defend themselves, can be very egregious. The person's not there to defend themselves. They don't know what's being said about them. They just know it's being said. And so John Gruden, just like people who gossip about other people behind their back, what he's doing it with the people he felt safe enough to do it with. Like Bruce Allen and the other cronies that run the NFL too. And it didn't hurt him. In fact, he felt so comfortable about it, it made him $100 million. And even the owner, Mark Davis, did not want to fire him based on why he lost his job, because he felt comfortable with it. You guys just got to think about that. So John Gruden, I'm not pro John Gruden at all. What he said is despicable. At the same time, if John Gruden is wanted people to know that he's not the only one that thinks that way, that there's a lot of good boys that think that way. I mean, they've always wanted black men for their prowess and to help them win. But as far as being on the same pay grade and status, no, they don't want that. That's why most people who try to tear down black men in society, they do it behind their back. They don't do it right in front of them, and they know that. That's part of the whole way the NFL is set up. A lot of people have just done that over the years, and that's just the way it's been. But I just, with whatever the NFL it is. They just got to try to make it better, and I want to be a part of trying to make it better. So give that some praise also, trying to make it better. But they know they're hiding a lot of the other good old boys too. I want to talk about some of the top teams right now in the NFL, the defenses that are actually playing and still alive and kicking in the NFL for the playoffs. And looking at some of the top teams, if you look at the teams right now in the playoff hunt, the Las Vegas Raiders, I'm looking at defensively. The Las Vegas Raiders, just talking about the Las Vegas Raiders, eliminated from the playoffs. And notice how they made the playoffs when John Gruden left the team or resigned. Wasn't fired because being racist and homophobic are not considered a job killer for white men. That's how you got over 650 emails. It's all fair and love and war. But all things considered, the Vegas Raiders, they did an admirable job, especially once Gruden decided to step down. In fact, what he did was okay with the good old boys because he didn't get fired. He decided to resign. Yeah, right. But in the AFC, the wild card game loss to the Bengals showed that the Raiders, at least they're back a little bit, made the playoffs some, had a lot of distractions caused by, it started with John Gruden, the distractions. And instead of him apologizing to people about his homophobic and anti-gay behavior, he wants to sue the league for saying, I'm not the only one. Why are you only punishing me? New England Patriots, their defense, 13th, in my estimation, eliminated from the playoffs. That, at one time, under Bill Belichick, was I guess you could say, the shining light of defenses with a defensive-minded coach in Belichick. But the Patriots, they sat near the top of the NFL, the defensive rankings for, I guess you could say, the majority of the season. A lot of signs before they faced the Buffalo Bills the second and third time in the wild card round especially. They were averaging 129 yards rushing per game, 5.1 yards against the Patriots defense in week 8 and 17. On Saturday, Devin Singletary had 2 touchdowns and 81 of the Bills' 171 yards rushing. Isn't that amazing? They reversed the script on what the Patriots did earlier when the Patriots beat them 14-10. Well, Buffalo had nothing to do with it the last 2 times. New England also destroyed by Josh Allen and gave up 308 yards and 5 touchdowns in the playoff loss. So did Buffalo shoot their load? Did they empty the chamber in the win against New England? Now they have a defense that's more fresh. Again, New England had lost their last 3 games too, so that's not the same Belichick coached New England defense that beat Buffalo 14-10 up on the cold couple of weeks ago. Philadelphia, also the Eagles, put them at number 12 defensively, eliminated from the playoffs. This is the team that just kind of didn't get out of the gate fast enough down in Tampa. The defense entered the playoffs with a lot of momentum. Darius Slay, opponents averaged just 206 yards passing per game, 81 rushing yards per game, week 8 through 17. But Philadelphia used the New York Giants. They faced them twice, so that helped them also. Washington football team twice. New Orleans Saints, Denver Broncos, and New York Jets during that stretch. Against Tom Brady and Tampa Bay, things got pretty ugly. But they nearly beat Tampa earlier in the year up in Philadelphia. They lost, I believe it was 28-22. So this one, 31-15 or 31-16, really wasn't a game at all. But it's all friend, love, and war. Mike Evans had 117 yards and a touchdown. And Philly just played like they were not trying. You guys not trying, if that makes sense to you. But Tampa Bay, that's a good team, especially at home. And they proved it against Philadelphia. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they had one of the toughest defenses earlier in the year, but they are also eliminated from the playoffs. You had T.J. Watt and Cameron Hayward are two of the biggest driving forces behind the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steel Curtain Part 2, if that makes sense to you. In the season on the line, the Steelers front seven racked up 12 sacks in the final 2 games. That's why they were in the playoffs. 12 sacks in the final 2 games, and the only NFL team with an African-American coach in 2022 as of the Martin Luther King holiday. Isn't that something? And the NFL's not racist. They believe in liberty and justice for all. They can't find any black men that can coach teams, but they've been fired all over the place. Black Lives Matter, right? In writing, yes. But there's still so many people that look to tear down black men from kindergarten all the way until retirement ages and health insurance. And there's so many other factors. In the NFL, you would think it'd be on the forefront of trying to say there's at least equality for everybody. But come on, 12 sacks in the last 2 games. Mike Thomas' team did their thing, but they're out of the playoffs now. Big Ben Roethlisberger played his last game. They lost 42-21 to the Kansas City Chiefs. I want to look at another team, the Dallas Cowboys. They were a top defense, but again, they play in the NFC East. They saw the Bang Bang 90 game come rolling into town, and they said, there's gold in them there hills. And the 49ers went looking for gold. They had 37 carries. And when they run the ball between 35 and 40 times a game, they're 19-0. That's a clue. Watch that clue coming into Green Bay. I don't care how cold it is. When it's cold, you run even better because the ball's not in the air. But back to the Cowboys. Dan Quinn and the Cowboys going to see Deebo Samuel in their nightmares. Arguably, the Green Bay will too. The best offensive weapon in the playoffs. Dallas has never had an answer for San Francisco 49ers running backs and receiver combo. Everyone knew that Kyle Shanahan, who learned from his father, would bring to the table using pre-snap motion and deception to create a rushing attack. Dan Quinn's defense looked like they never saw it coming. In fact, they were up 23-7 before Jimmy G decided to throw an inexplicable interception. Could have taken a sack or simply thrown the ball away, but he threw in there was 3 men covering 1 receiver. And he threw it low, not high. You just can't have that garbage. But it did for the people in Vegas. What that did, when Jimmy G did that, it got closer to the over-under, didn't it? Oh, wow, what'd you say? It got closer to the over-under. I'm telling you something about this 49er team. If they run the ball 40 times, they're going to win Super Bowl 56. You can see, you can't just run every play. They ran 18 times in 2 games the last time they went to the Super Bowl. They beat the Minnesota Vikings and the Green Bay Packers. And their team is better now running the football. Deebo Samuel, Elijah Mitchell. It's amazing. Husek blocking in the backfield. Ayuk. Kittle. You can't stop them. You know what they're going to do, and they still do it. Let Jimmy G throw 10 to 15 times in the game, if that much. And don't throw over 20 yards. You want to throw one deep, just to show you in the Rams game, when they beat the Rams, they were down 17-0. They came back and beat them 27-24 in overtime. It was Deebo Samuel that threw a long touchdown pass, not Jimmy G. They know how to win, but there's a lot of junk going on in this game. And I even talking to my friend from Chicago. But Dallas has allowed its opponents to average 126 rushing yards per game since week 6. The worst matchup possible for the Cowboys. And the Cowboys' rush defense is better than Green Bay's rush defense. That's a clue. I'm just telling you, that's a clue. All's fan 11 were Cincinnati Bengals. coming in number 9 in Big C's NFL top defenses in the playoffs. They're down in Tennessee country, and they eat tigers down in Tennessee. If that makes sense to you. What does a Titan do when it sees a tiger? The Bengals defense came alive on Saturday, leading the day in a big win for the franchise, the first time in 31 years. If you won one playoff game in 31 years, can you win 2 playoff games in 7 days? Probably not. Not even 8 days. But they're a good team. Trey Hendrickson delivered a sack and multiple pressures with Sam Hubbard and B.J. Hill also making some big-time plays. The Bengals did allow Darren Waller 76 yards, and he's no touchdown Derrick Henry. And Zay Jones 61 yards on a touchdown to do some damage. They held Derek Carr to 5.7 yards per attempt. But, that's what they did. And they barely won. So don't believe the hype about how great Cincinnati is. They barely run, and Derek Carr had a bad game. Even threw an interception to close the game. Didn't have his best game. Touchdown Derrick Henry, he's a different breed. If Derrick Henry is even at 75%, which is how many black men make up the NFL, then he can probably get at least 20 touches. He's going to get at least a touchdown or 2. He keeps the clock rolling. Touchdown Ryan Tannehill, play action pass, throwing to A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. That's a big team down there in Tennessee. They run the ball well, and Cincinnati might be in a little bit of trouble unless some shenanigans are going on. Arizona Cardinals, they didn't even show up against the Rams in that game down at SoFi Stadium. The Cardinals had hoped the return of J.J. Watt would light a fire under their defense. The 38 points to Seattle in Week 18 just hasn't been the same without 3-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year in the mix. And then the Cardinals' defensive stats, they didn't show up against the Rams. That's just my opinion. I know people want to say Matthew Stafford had his first playoff win, but look at how poorly the Arizona Cardinals had to play for him to get his first playoff win. Think about that. I know he's a good quarterback, but his first win came against one of the worst performances by Arizona ever in the playoffs. And when you add to that, in the Cardinals' NFC wildcard blowout loss, he completed 13 of 17 passes, 220 yards, with 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. They also rushed for 140 yards in the blowout win against an Arizona team that played maybe their worst playoff game ever since moving to Arizona. Kansas City Chiefs, this is a team that's primed to win, but they're also primed for upset. Did Buffalo shoot their load at home in their win versus New England? We've seen versions of Kansas City's defense this season. It's gone from bad to good. They're playing really solid defense now, but the point spread is right around 2. What does Las Vegas know? If they go and win this game, it would be 4 years in a row that they've made the AFC Championship game. No team has done that 4 years in a row outside of the Buffalo Bills back in the days of Jim Kelly, Bruce Smith, Thurman Thomas, and the Good Old Boys, Darryl Talley. And if the Buffalo Bills can stop them from going to 4 in a row, they'll still be the only team that did that. 4 years in a row. But they've turned things around. The Chiefs have touchdown Patrick Mahomes playing good football. And if he's playing good football, they're going to be hard to beat. And they are playing good football. I just can't wait to see this game. How does Buffalo lose at Jacksonville and they're only a 2-point underdog at Kansas City without some type of shenanigans going on? When you think about Kansas City's defense came to play big time on a 42-21 win over Pittsburgh, and that included holding star rookie Najee Harris 29 yards on 12 attempts. I'm telling you, there's something that's going on with the bookies in these point spreads. And I love NFL football, but I'm just careful about that too. It's just something that I can't wait to see these games over the weekend, but it's hard to pick them. It's hard to pick them. But I don't see how Buffalo can look so good against the New England Patriots and then travel halfway across the country and do the same thing against Kansas City that's playing a lot better than New England's playing or was playing. Tennessee Titans, their defense, I put them at number 6. The Tennessee Titans, they have experienced plenty of different players coming in and out of their lineup. The Titans' first 6 games, they allowed 276 passing yards per contest. And compared to the last 7 games ending Week 18, their opponents averaged 171 yards. They improved by 105 yards. Isn't that something? Holding quarterbacks to 72 QBR rating. The Titans' run defense, think about this, Cincinnati, giving up only 73 yards a game. And only 7 rushing touchdowns in 11 games. That's going to be tough for Joe Burrow just to stand back and throw it deep against these guys. I'm going to bring you to another team that I think is very solid. The Los Angeles Rams. I'm going to put them right now at number 5. The best defensive player in the NFL, arguably. One of the best in football history, many people say about sackman Aaron Donald. Started this season on a slow note. Just have 3.5 sacks. 5 tackles for loss in 7 games. In the next 8 games, Donald registered 9 sacks and 13 tackles for loss. And that's while being double-teamed. The Rams defense, week 1 through 17, 82.9 average QBR rating. They've improved on that. When you think about this team, Donald, Jalen Ramsey, the defense has been going strong. They brought on a future Hall of Famer in Von Miller. How are they the underdog at Tampa, a team they beat 34-24 earlier in the season? They got to go across the country. But you know the NFL wants to see Tom Brady in the NFC Championship, and that's my point, and I'm sticking to it. There's another good defense that I'm going to bring up. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Getting linebacker Levante David and edge rusher Shaquille Barrett back, that changes things for the Buccaneers early in 2021 season. The best run defense in the NFL, but look, they're playing the Falcons, they're playing Carolina and New Orleans, so that's not like they were playing in the NFC West. But they were giving up 2.9 yards per carry through their first 5 games. But the opponents averaged 5.1 yards against Tampa in the last 6 games. That's a clue. The Rams can run the ball. They just got to trust their run game and not leave it up to Stafford to throw interceptions. The Buccaneers' defensive stats in the wildcard game, 15 points, 346 yards total offense allowed, 5.6 yards per play. But Philadelphia didn't even play until the second half. Their running backs combined for just 56 rushing yards, but they just didn't play. They didn't show up emotionally. I'm going to bring you to another team that's supposedly solid, even though I saw them jump out to a 17-0 lead in San Francisco, and then they ended up winning by a field goal, 30-28, with 3 seconds left on the clock. They kicked the 50-yard field goal Crosby. The Niners are taking the lead, 28-24, or 28-24, 28-23, something like that. But the Packers come out of the first round bye with a lot of confidence. For one, having 2 weeks to prepare against an opponent that would be playing in cold conditions. The field is heated. Don't buy into the cold. The Packers have been blown out by the 49ers. They're 0-3 in the playoffs under Rodgers the last 3 games. And they really were losing the first game at home for San Francisco this year prior to the last 3 seconds of the game. Again, after being up they were up 17-0. The Niners brought in Trey Lance and he scored on a quarterback keeper. And then he never saw the action again. They put Jimmy G back in. But still, they have a double-head option for the Niners. They were up 17-0, and then the Niners came and outscored them. It was 28-13. You get a team up 17 and you let them come back. The Niners almost had that game won. I think they'll close the deal on Saturday. Unless the NFL wants to see Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady again, which is there's a lot of thinking that might be the case too. It might get higher TV ratings. They're already saying, well, Jimmy G has a bad shoulder. Great, bring in Trey Lance. You drafted him first anyplace. Okay? If that's the case, you can hand off the ball 40 times, you'll be fine. Now, Green Bay, quarterbacks versus Green Bay Packers, week 6 through 17, 210 pass yards per game, 79% QBR, 16 touchdowns, 13 interception ratio. Keep in mind, this was done without Jair Alexander, Desarius Smith. Alexander can line up against number 1 receivers and shut them down, but he lined up against San Francisco the first time they came to San Francisco, didn't shut them down. I just think there's so much to be said about these 2 teams. I think it's an amazing matchup of NFL football. I love the fact that San Francisco and Green Bay, they've been doing this for so long, and it's going to be where we see it again. I hope to see it again. I love the fact that these 2 teams have been playing such good football over the years, and now we get to see it again. I can't wait to see it again, and I know you can't wait to see it again. I'm going to take what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. Going to come back and finish up what's going on in the NFL. The great Marvin Gaye, what's going on? Tell me what's going on. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, we are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 22 podcast applications all over the universe. I want to bring this to you also. I'm pulling for the 49ers to win this game because it's Northern California and my bias, no. But I'm going to tell you this. They're the number one offense in the NFL in the red zone, the 49ers are. There's no better coach in the NFL at designing run plays and creating mismatches for the ball carrier than Kyle Shanahan. We've already seen it. The first game this year for San Francisco was Green Bay. They lost it in the final seconds of the game, but they were down 17-0 and came back. Now, think about this. In recent years, kind of a weakness for the Packers is they don't stop the run. And don't expect a repeat of Game 3. Some people say the 49ers only had 67 yards on 21 carries because they had 21 carries. They should have that by halftime. If I know this on Big C Sports, then Shanahan should know it. They are 19-0 when they run the ball between 35 and 40 times a game. They only had 21 carries in the first game, and it took them to lose on a 50-yard field goal with 3 seconds left. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a clue. That's a clue. If Green Bay can hold the 49ers to under 150 yards rushing and make Jimmy G throw 25 times, they have a chance. Especially this saying he has a bad arm. I'm going to go to Buffalo Bills. When you look at their domination of their defense over the New England Patriots, don't believe the hype. The Patriots were on the nosedive at the end of the season, and the point spread got cooked on that one. But you think about it, all-pro safety Micah Hyde making one of the best interceptions you'll see all year, and they played against a rookie quarterback in Mac Jones, but Buffalo dominated this one for 3 quarters. They shut down Mac Jones, had a 76% QR rating, or QB rating. He had 2 interceptions. He was just out of his league, if that makes sense to you. It's not the SEC, young man, but Leslie Frazier eased up on defense. I mean, he eased up a little bit, but New England was just not in the game. Buffalo's defensive stats, I don't care what you say. Go back and watch the game where they lost to Jacksonville. That team cannot be the team that goes to the AFC Championship game unless shenanigans are in there. And I told you there might be some with trying to get Josh Allen and Buffalo to stop Kansas City from going to the AFC Championship game 4 years in a row. Only team to do that, Buffalo Bills. And who's going to be able to stop them? Maybe the Buffalo Bills. In Week 5, the matchup, don't even look at that game. Buffalo and Kansas City, different teams, both of them. But I still feel that Kansas City should be able to hold down the fort at home and win that game unless there's some shenanigans that go on, and we'll see. I'm going to say the number one defense in the playoffs, you just watch how they play it down the stretch. Bang, bang, Niner game, the 49ers, their pass rush is remarkable. They lived in the Dallas Cowboys backfield on Sunday, disrupting touchdown Dak Prescott, taking him down 5 times. He was hit 14 times. Jimmy G was not sacked at all. Prescott was sacked 5 times and hit 14 times. Could have been sacked at least 7 times in that game. That's what happened against Dallas. It wasn't Prescott. His offensive line couldn't contain the line. Bosa's going to be playing. He's going to be back playing. Warner's going to be playing. That defense, they're a dominant team. Armstead's going to play. They just have a really good football team, the 49ers do. They play aggressive. They don't have to blitz their linebackers to get pressure in the backfield. So when you get these teams, they rarely got to Aaron Rodgers last time. Only 2 quarterback hits and 1 sack. He carved up the 49ers secondary. That's much better now. Nick Bosa in the concussion protocol, he's going to play. If the 49ers can get to Rodgers early, they got to him enough to come back from 17-0 down. Remember, the 49ers lost because they ran the ball 21 times last time. If Shanahan only runs the ball 21 times in this game, fire him. You don't need him as a coach. If you don't recognize that you're 19-0 when you run the ball 35 times a game, why do they have him as a coach? Double team Devontae Adams, you'll be fine. And you'll head to the NFC Championship game. That's just my opinion, and I think that's a very good opinion. And it's based on the stats. It's based on facts. It's not based on me being a homer for the West Coast, even though I am a homer for the West Coast. Give that some praise. Oh, give that some praise. I'm going to just cover a little bit of NBA basketball tonight for you good old boys that want to see what's going on in the NBA basketball universe. There's not a lot going on in NBA basketball tonight. And this obviously last night, you see the Lakers lose to Indiana, and talk about Russell Westbrook being sat on the bench in the last, 3.5 minutes of the game. Wasn't getting it done. Vogel decided to sit him on the bench, and that's okay. Players know sometimes you just got to sit down. It's not like he took the day off. He just got to find his shooting groove. Tonight's scheduled January 20th on a Thursday. New Orleans at New York at Madison Square Garden already underway. And the Phoenix is at Dallas. Dallas has been playing pretty good basketball lately. That game is on TNT. And then the game tonight in the Bay Area is Indiana, the Pacers at the Golden State Warriors over at the beautiful Chase Center in downtown San Francisco. So there's a lot going on in the world of NBA as far as will players get traded and what's going to happen with the Lakers. Will they be a playoff team? And I think they will be a playoff team. There's not a doubt about that. I want to just cover one thing that I think is so ironic. I know it's kind of early for baseball, but when you think about baseball and what they're trying to do with Major League Baseball, would you believe that the umpires are being taken over by robots? Major League Baseball is considering using robots in AAA baseball, and they're trying to plan to use this for Major League Baseball. Could you imagine no more arguing strikes and balls at home plate because they're going to trust a computer to do it? It's like HAL 2001: A Space Odyssey. Could you imagine taking the human element out of baseball? How are you going to cheat if you let computers run everything, if that makes sense to you? Count all the votes. Don't count the votes. No, count them all. So robot umpires at home plate move up to AAA for 2022, one step away from Major League Baseball. And they've been given a promotion and will be just one step from the Major League this season. And now Major League Baseball expanded its automated strike zone experiment to AAA in the higher level of the minor leagues. Major League Baseball websites are posting hiring notices seeking seasonal employees to operate the automated ball strike system. I don't like that. Major League Baseball said it's recruiting employees to operate the system for the as they call the Albuquerque Isotopes, the Charlotte Knights, the El Paso Chihuahuas, the Las Vegas Aviators, Oklahoma City Dodgers, the Reno Aces, the Round Rock Express, Sacramento River Cats, Salt Lake City Bees, and Sugarland Skeeters and the Tacoma Rainiers. I don't like that. To me, baseball is about the human error, the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat. Was it a strike? Was it a fair ball? Foul ball? Whatever it was, don't take the human element out of it. So the Independent Atlantic League became the first American professional league to let a computer call balls and strikes at the All-Star Game. July 2019, they experimented with the ABS during the second half of that season, and that system was also used in the Arizona Fall League. I don't like that. I don't like it, and I don't think anyone should get used to that, and Manfred did not let that happen at the Major League Baseball level. MLB said the robot umpires will be used at some spring training ballparks in Florida and will remain a low A Southwest and could use at non-Major League Baseball venues. I don't think anybody wants to see that. Part of baseball is seeing the human element, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat. I don't want to see where we replace people with robots. If that's the case, do we get rid of players? I mean, come on, do we get rid of players and allow robots to run around and do it like they do down in Silicon Valley? The already robotic devices that will, I guess they can vacuum your floor at home. I know people want to vacuum their own floors. They want some robot doing it. But that's a sad day for baseball to take the human element out of supposedly America's pastime, baseball. You don't want to see it. At least I don't want to see it. They already have kind of a strike zone on television, but based on whose angle, what camera angle? It could be, to me, don't take the innocence out of it. They're even proposing, you can laugh all you want, they're even proposing for people who are on date websites that you show up for a robot, that they're going to get rid of real people. Back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always throw Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sing like a bee, rumble, young man, rumble, but all you've got to use after you lose. Ali would say, I'm so pretty, that's why I float like a butterfly, I sing like a bee. I rumble, young man, rumble, because all these Big C burgers and that Big C coffee make me light on my feet. That's why I'm always rumbling, young man, rumbling. My beautiful mother says that there's never an excuse for racism or domestic violence. You know, any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, pick up the phone and ask for help. Because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. They never really should, especially with all the things that are going on in our society, trying to make liberty and justice for all. So that's why we always tell you on every Big C Sports Show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.